Welcome into the Off-Brand Sports Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking some AFC over-under win totals, see who we think is going to win each division, kind of give our standings, basically just win predictions for every team. Before that, we'll talk a little bit about some news, and then we'll give you our bet of the week. So, today, not a ton going on in the world of sports, but Marshall and Zach, any sports news that you two wanted to talk about?
I guess the NBA introducing their six-phase plan to restart play in late January. Or
that's a lot of phases.
Not January, but July.
I actually didn't see anything about that. I was watching SportsCenter right when I got home. I did see that the MLB took a pretty significant step in their negotiations with the MLBPA.
Okay.
They're proposing a 60-game schedule with 100% prorated salary, which is what the MLBPA wanted in the first place. But the 60 games is not necessarily what they wanted. So, but still, getting that 100% prorated salary kind of on the table is a huge step in the MLB returning. I heard that if these negotiations work out and they actually do come to an agreement, they will start resuming play on July 18th or the 19th. So we could see the MLB coming back before anything or any other of the major sports if all these negotiations come out. Also, a lot of the MLB players were tweeting at Rob Manfred saying, tell us when and where, we're ready. So it looks like they're wanting to play now. Even Blake Snell, who was, in my opinion, kind of being a little bit against coming back and playing, but it looks like he tweeted out, so he's even on board now. But, there's not a whole lot going on other than that.
What do you think about the 60-game schedule? Do you like that better? Zach? Do you like the 60-game schedule better?
As opposed to
the 162? Every game's going to mean something.
I know, but the thing about baseball is each team goes into cold streaks and hot streaks all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 10-game stretch where a really good team is not playing very well, that can ruin their entire season. I did, however, see that, though, they are going to expand the playoffs to a larger number of teams. I don't necessarily know that number. I don't know if it's set in stone yet, how many teams are actually going to be eligible for the playoffs. But I do like that. I just feel like with the 60 games, there's going to be a humongous asterisk next to whoever wins the World Series, in my personal opinion. It's a little bit different than the NBA and the NHL, just because the NBA and NHL have played a very significant amount of their regular season, and the seeds have been, kind of already established based off of, the 70 games that they played. Whereas the MLB, 60 games is way less than half. It's almost just a third of their actual regular season. But still, I would like to see them get back. I'm just itching for some sports at this point. So
yeah, definitely anything to watch. I don't normally watch baseball, but if it's the first thing back, you can bet I'll be watching a ton of it. Definitely my goals this year to watch more basketball and baseball. But Zach, you touched on the NBA 6-phase plan. So let's talk a little bit about that. The first phase is going on right now. It started June 12th. Basically, every team is supposed to be in their home market now. So they should be, wherever their team plays, they're supposed to be there. The Raptors are the only exception. They're supposed to be in Florida at Gulf Coast University, who we beat in roller hockey, just saying. But, actually, wait, no. We didn't beat Gulf Coast. They killed us. Never mind. Pretend that didn't happen. But okay, so they're supposed to be in Florida because they're international. They don't want to deal with the border. So team facilities are now open. Individual workouts only. It's voluntary. And then you can have virtual meetings and workouts. And then when players return to their home market, they can only leave the house for essentials and trips to team facilities. So they can't, go hang out with anyone. They can't do anything else. It's got to be strictly survival things and basketball.
What do you guys think about this whole bubble situation? I mean, do you think that the players are going to end up getting sick of each other? Or
I think that's not really a big deal in the end when you're making millions of dollars.
I think you basically live with your team anyway. Okay, think of this as an extended road trip. And when you're on the road with your team, even in junior level hockey, you're basically living with them anyway. This is just that extended.
Yeah.
I don't think.
And honestly, it's the full season usually anyway.
What were you saying, Zach?
Oh, nothing. That's fine.
So yeah, I definitely don't really know. I mean, a lot of the players are kind of like against the whole bubble situation, anyways. I mean, Kyrie Irving has kind of came out and said, like he doesn't want to come back to play because there's greater issues at hand. Even Dwight Howard's in that same boat. So
Yeah,
When is
that's
there
fair.
not greater
I mean,
issues at hand? But I guess that's a topic for another fucking thing.
yeah. I mean, LeBron is wanting to come back, so a lot of people are. Patrick Beverley said that if LeBron's on board, then everyone should be following him.
Fair enough. Okay,
I did.
And then, go ahead, Marshall.
I did read an article about Bradley Chubb and his rehab. I guess he was one of the only players in like the entire National Football League that was allowed in team facilities during the whole lockdown because of his rehabbing his ACL injury. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And he said it was really weird, just being like the only one at the facility with just a couple of trainers.
Nice. Okay, yeah. So the last thing really to touch on the 6-phase plan is like there's a bunch of phases in the way, but nothing too interesting until July 30th is when we play basketball. So that's when the NBA will return. The other news thing I want to touch on, we actually talked about a little bit in our last pod, Kaepernick possible return. So now Goodell has come out and said that he would like Kaepernick back in the NFL. Does that sway anyone's opinion on whether or not they think it will happen?
No, but I saw he is working out with the Chargers. I saw that
I
today.
did see that too.
He's on the Chargers list.
Yeah.
Anthony Lynn came out and said that it would be kind of foolish for NFL teams to not have them on their like workout tryout basis.
Yeah, definitely. Just see what he's got. So we touched more on that in the last pod, so if you haven't listened to that one, definitely go check it out, and you can see more of our takes on Kaepernick. But let's go ahead and move into our bet segment. Since none of our bets have been resolved yet, because there's not a ton to bet on, we had to do some more longer-term ones. We're all still at $5. No wins or losses or pushes yet for any of us. So let's see what we have this week, or today, I guess. Zach, what is your bet of the day?
All right, so I went out east, English Soccer League. I got Waterford and Leicester City. Waterford's up 240. I think I'm going to have to go with the tie on this one, though. Soccer just ties a lot, and there's not really any sports going on, so I decided to take that one.
Nice.
Do you know what the odds are for the tie?
The odds are plus 245.
Okay,
Nice.
That's solid for a tie.
Mm-hmm.
Billy, do you want to go ahead and give your bet?
Yeah, so I'm also going with some soccer. I will say, we don't watch that much soccer. None of us do, so we're not super informed. You're going to get some better bets from us when basketball and hockey and football return, just because we know more about the sports. But I am sticking with soccer again this week. I'm taking Man U over Tottenham for plus 150. Good team. Man U is the favorite, so I think the tie might be the favorite in that matchup. But they're plus 150 to win. They have better odds than Tottenham, so if I can get the better team at plus 150, I'll take that.
All right. So I'm going to golf this week. It's kind of the only sport that's going on right now that I actually kind of know something about. The RBC Heritage Championship is this weekend. I'm taking Brooks Koepka to win at plus 4,500 odds. I love those odds. Koepka was out for a lot of the beginning of this year, and I feel like this last tournament he was just it was kind of just like a warm up for him to get his his swing back and his rhythm back. The last 9 holes that he played in this last weekend's tournament, I think he had 4 birdies. So I see him carrying over some sort of momentum, and I'll definitely take those odds. Throw $5 down, win $200. So
yeah, definitely. Marshall taking the big swings, which is kind of his typical style. We'll see how
No
that
pun
works. If he
intended.
hits on one, then he might win the year. So definitely not a terrible strategy by any means. So let's go ahead and get into our main topic for today's episode. Last week we talked about our NFC over-unders, gave our win predictions for those teams. Now we're going to move into the AFC. So we have everyone's win total, their odds for the over and the under, and we'll give our predictions. Let's start with the North. And one of the team projected to win the North, the Ravens, at over under 11 wins, minus 110 both ways for the over and the under. So odds can't really sway you much there. One of the hottest teams last year. Definitely made some noise. Didn't end up going too far in the playoffs, but strong in the regular season. What do you think of their chances this year, Zach?
I think actually I'm going to take the over on the Ravens this year. I think they're a great team. I love Lamar Jackson so much. I think he's definitely got the potential to be one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league. Yeah, I'll take them at honestly 12 or 13. I think they could go 13-3.
Okay. Marshall, what are your thoughts here?
I am hammering the over on the Ravens. Absolutely hammering it. I think they win 14-15. Wouldn't even surprise me if they go undefeated.
Wow.
Their strength of schedule is extremely easy, and their travel is very easy. All of their hard teams that they have to play are at home. They did not lose any talent, and pretty much only beefed up their talent in the draft and free agency. I feel like they have some sort of point to prove that last year's regular season wasn't just a fluke. So I think the Ravens are definitely going to get the over, especially in this division. I don't necessarily love any of the other three teams.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. I'm a little split here, but I am going to take the over. Normally, 11 wins is really high for an over-under. It's the second highest in the league. But it makes a lot of sense because the rest of this division, nothing really sticks out to me as a threat. I feel like the Ravens probably run away with it, and I don't know that anyone else in this division can beat them. Maybe the Steelers beat them one of the two, but I really like them to basically sweep the division or come close to it. So if you win 6 in your division, 5 more outside the division sounds pretty easy for the Ravens. So I will also take the over here. So moving on, projected second in the division is the Steelers. Marshall, what are your thoughts on the Steelers?
I do not like the Steelers, if we're being totally honest. I'm taking the under. I think they're a 7-9 team. I don't love Big Ben's offseason work habit, or like his offseason habits. I just don't think that he puts in the time that the other elite quarterbacks in the league do.
Especially coming back from injury.
Yeah, and he's definitely not getting any younger in age. So a little bit better odds for the over, but not by much. That's not going to sway my opinion here. They do have a really solid defense. That will probably be what ends up carrying them. But I just don't see the Steelers. I think they're probably the third best team in this division.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm also going to take the under here. Big Ben being the big reason. Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning have both regressed recently. And Phillip Rivers, maybe we haven't seen him regress yet, but that's because he was hurt in the year that you would have expected it. So expecting some regression from him, which I don't think is great for the Steelers. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, like Marshall touched on, they're really good defense. I think 9 is right about right for the Steelers. I don't think they're going to go over that. So if I had to pick one, I'll take the under on the Steelers as well.
Okay, so we're all kind of sold. Unanimous for both of our first two teams. I didn't mention the odds for the Steelers, minus 106 for the over and minus 109 for the under. So slightly better odds, but nothing really going to sway you there. So let's get into the Browns. Over under at 8.5, so just half a win behind the Steelers. You can get plus 100 for the over or minus 121 for the under. Personally, I'm taking the under here. I don't love the Browns this year. I think Baker Mayfield's chance to prove himself as a starting quarterback legitimately was last year. So I think now he's on very thin ice. If he has another year like last year, then I think his career is very much in question. And honestly, I just don't love a lot of what they've going on there. They've got a lot of talent that just doesn't seem to click. So I am taking the under there. Zach, what do you think?
For the Browns, I think Baker Mayfield is the X factor for the Browns if they're going to win over into 8 games. So I want to say I like Baker personally, but I don't think he's going to be able to do this based on past performances. Yeah, I see them as a 7-win team. I just don't see them getting to 8.
Fair enough. So 2 unders. Marshall, where are you at?
I'm over, 100% over here.
All right.
I think that they're a 9 or 10 win team.
Oh, wow.
For one, I mean, the odds plus 100 are better than minus 121 for the under. But not only that, I think Baker can be a serviceable starter in this league. Kind of just not necessarily be like a superstar, but be a team or a quarterback that leads a very talented team to, 9 or 10 wins, maybe make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Outside of like the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Browns have as much talent on their roster as any other team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, as any other team in the NFL, in my opinion. Much like the Ravens, I think the Browns have something to prove this year. Same with Baker. I think Baker's coming into the season with a different mindset. I would look out for the Browns this year. I don't think that they're going to be pushing the Ravens at all, but I do think that they might squeeze into the playoffs.
Okay, yeah, definitely a lot of talent. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb in the backfield thrown to Odell and Jarvis Landry. So we'll see if they can put it all together this year and make some noise. But moving on, the Bengals, over under 5.5. Over is minus 115 and minus 106 for the under. Zach, what are you thinking here?
I don't really know too much about the Bengals. Is Andy Dalton their quarterback?
No, they just took Joe Burrow first overall.
Oh, that's right. Ooh, I don't know. I guess depending how Joe Burrow does, I think they could probably take the over.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, could have a strong rookie year. He was a solid prospect. I don't love the Bengals. I think the Bengals are the worst run organization in football, and I'm not just talking about like the players they have. Just their desire to win to me is absolutely in question, and. For that reason alone, I'm taking the Bengals. I'm taking the under here. I think they maybe win 5 games, but I don't think they win 6.
I'm also taking the under for sure. I don't even think Joe Burrow was the best quarterback in this draft. I would have taken Tua at the start of this last season, just based off the talent standpoint. I feel like people are looking a little bit too far into this injury. Joe Burrow, I think he could be a very solid starter in the NFL. I just don't see any star potential out of him. I definitely don't see him coming in and leading the worst team in football from last year to 5 games. They're still lacking some talent. I think the Bengals, if Joe Burrow is gonna be something in this league, are just 2 or 3 years out still.
Yeah, brought in T. Higgins as well, which will be nice. He's got a little bit of talent at receiver with Higgins and A.J. Green, but who even knows if A.J. Green will still be there when the season starts? So, don't love the Bengals. Let's give our standings projections here. So I took the over on the Ravens and the under on everyone else. So I'm giving the Ravens the win. I'll put them at 12-4. I'll have the Steelers in second at 8-8, Browns 7-9, and then the Bengals 4-10. Marshall, where are you at?
I have the Ravens. Definitely one. I think that they might be a 14-2 team. Steelers, I see them so Browns are my second. I think they're a 9-7 team. Steelers 7-9 and Bengals 4-12. Okay.
Zach?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same wavelength as you, Billy. I'm going Ravens. I think they could also win like 14 or 13-3. I'll go 13-3. Steelers 9-7. Browns. This is where it gets interesting. They could go 8-8. Bengals, 4-10, I guess.
All right. Yeah. So definitely interesting division. I'm a little curious to see some of these teams play, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Let's move into the East. And this one, I think, probably the most up for grabs division in football. I could see any one of these teams winning it. But let's start with, I guess the 2 favorites are tied. The Patriots and Bills both at 8.5 with minus 130 for the over and plus 107 for the under. Let's talk Patriots first. Tom Brady's gone, so this is a different team than years past. What do you think, Zach?
I guess it really depends on who's going to be their starting quarterback. If they can
Probably
get someone,
Jarrett Stidham, but who
yeah, if they
knows?
can get someone serviceable. I mean, Cam Newton was in the running. Apparently, he wasn't what they were looking for. But I'm gonna have to take the under on the Patriots. I think.
Okay. Could the
Yeah.
Patriots be a Kaepernick location? That would
He
be
could.
interesting.
Yeah. That's interesting. They could be.
I think the Patriots are definitely going to be Jarrett Stidham is going to be the Patriots team this year, or guy this year. Um, but I'm definitely taking the under. They have absolutely no talent on the offensive side of the ball outside of Edelman. I mean,
Sonny Michelle's
Like-
not bad.
yeah, Michelle is okay, but still, like if you're looking at just other teams in the AFC and some of like the offensive firepower that they have, it's not even close to as good as it needs to be. Their defense is still very solid, and they do have Bill Belichick. But I just think the Tom Brady era is over. This is kind of start of a transition into a new era of Patriots football. So I don't see them getting over 8 wins. I'd say maybe 8-8, but I couldn't see them as 9-7 personally.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. At 8.5, that's kind of a tough call for me. But I'm also yeah, I'll take the under just because it's got the better odds. I think you still have the best coach in football, which is a bigger deal than I think some people make it out to be. But it's not enough for me to take that roster who they've lost some talent. They're rebuilding now, which is weird to say about the Patriots, but this is a team that's starting a rebuild. So I think it's even better for them if they lose more. So the under on the Patriots. And let's move into the Bills. So same odds, 8.5, -130, +107. So tough one for me. Marshall, what do you think about the Bills?
I'm going over for sure on this one. I think the Bills are going to run away with this division, in my personal opinion. They had a really solid year last year. I think Josh Allen is a bit of a dark horse MVP candidate coming into this season, especially
Okay.
picking up Stephon Diggs. A lot of talent on defense still. In terms of just talent on the roster, I think they totally outweigh the Patriots.
Yeah, they got a lot going for him. Devin Singletary, a name to watch. As a breakout running back candidate, I loved him last year, and I think he can just take another step forward. So I will take the over here. Not huge. I think they maybe go 9-7. I don't think they're an elite team, but I think they're a good team, and I think they could take this division with a lot of question marks. Zach, what do you think?
I'm also going to go with the over on this. You guys have hinted at it. I don't think they're elite, but I think they could be a hard out in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair enough. They've solid defense. They can run the ball down your throats, and they've got a good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
If not,
To be honest, I think they're on the verge of being elite.
really,
Oh.
okay,
Yeah.
fair
I don't
enough.
think they're quite there, but yeah, I like what the Bills have going on.
Okay, cool. And so let's get into the team that openly tanked last year, the Dolphins. Their now over/under is 6.5. Over is +118, and and under is -143. It's interesting a lot of this depends on who does start at quarterback. Is Tua ready to play? And if he is ready to play, do they play him or do they let him sit a little bit? Rosen's still there, and I believe Fitzpatrick is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I kind of want to see Rosen play. I just feel like that's a guy that hasn't really gotten a shot, and there's just such a huge question mark. So I'd like to see Rosen play, but regardless, I'm taking the over on the Dolphins. They got really hot at the end of the year, beat some teams you wouldn't have expected them to, played themselves out of that first overall pick. But if you're in agreement with Marshall, they got the best quarterback anyway. So we'll see, but I'm going to take the over. What do you think, Zach?
I'm feeling the under on the Dolphins. They just haven't really proved so much, and the quarterback situation is going to be iffy. I think if Tua does end up starting, maybe they could touch 5, but probably not still. So I'm going to hammer the under on them.
All right. What do you think, Zach or Marshall?
I'm going the under, but I like the 6.5 Vegas odds. Like you were saying, Billy, it's very up in the air who their quarterback is gonna be. Unlike you, I do not think Rosen's going to even get a sniff of a shot. It would be interesting to see if he does, but I think Fitzmagic is going to be their guy until Tua is healthy. But I haven't heard anything about Tua being set back from his injury. I think he can be the day one starter. I do like what they have going on. I love their coach. Like I said, I feel like they got the most talented quarterback in the draft this year, but I do still think they're a year away. So I think a 6-10 record for the Dolphins is pretty fair.
Cool. And then let's hop into the Jets. Also 6.5. The difference here is the odds. You're getting plus 100, which essentially even on the over, and minus 121 for the under. I like the Jets, but I'll touch on that in a little bit. Marshall, what do you think of the Jets?
This is a very interesting one to me. I'm going to take the over, but just barely. I don't think they're a playoff team quite yet. I think they go 7-9. If Darnold can stay healthy, not only injury-wise, but like mono-wise, then I think he can be a top-tier quarterback in this league. They do have some talent surrounding him, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I think it'd be fair to say 7-9 for the Jets, but it would be interesting to see.
Okay. What do you think, Zach?
I guess I'm not really feeling the Jets too much, just based on last year. Obviously, I know Sam Darnold didn't play a lot of games, but I'm going to have to go on the under on the Jets here.
Cool. So I'm taking the over. I actually think they finished second in this division behind the Bills. I like Darnold a lot. I think that he hasn't, because of the mono, and the mono isn't really a concern going into the future because, first of all, he's not going to get it again. You can't get it twice. And it's not like it's something that was out of his control. He just had some bad luck and got mono. But last year could have been a breakout year for him, and I think that just kind of shifts it. Now this year could be a big breakout year for Darnold. Maybe he establishes himself as one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. I think it'll happen. I think the Jets win about 9 games, and I think so. I'm taking the under here, or the over. Sorry, but
one thing that I'd like to touch on, I have had mono, and not only for the time that you have mono does it affect you, it can affect just your energy levels for months after. So that's just something to keep in mind. Once Darnold did come back, it's like if he didn't look like the quarterback that you may be expecting, just give him some more time. But I do like Darnold a lot too.
Definitely a good point there. So let's go ahead and give our standings for the East. Let's start with you, Marshall. What do you think?
So I'm definitely going Bills. I think 10-6 team.
Yeah.
Patriots 7-9. Jets 7-9. I think the Patriots beat them head to head. And then sadly Dolphins 6-10, but I think they have one of the brighter futures in this division.
Fair enough. And what do you think, Zach?
I'll go Bills 9-7. Dolphins, I kind of want to put them at 7-9. Patriots 7-9. Jets, I don't know. I think the Jets are going to be last, so I'll put them at 6-10.
All right.
Zach, didn't you take the under on the Dolphins?
No, I thought I took the over on the Dolphins.
He changed his mind if he did, but fair enough. Definitely a reasonable prediction. So I'm taking the Bills to win it at 10-6. I think the Jets go 9-7, maybe get that last wild card. We'll have to see how everything else plays out. And then the Dolphins 7-9, Patriots also 7-9. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting division.
Did I also take the under? I feel like I took the over on the Dolphins. I kind of forgot what I said.
Yeah, you took the over on the Dolphins.
Okay, good. That's what I thought. 7-9 sounds right for them. Let's get into the South. This is my team's division, the Colts, who are projected to win it with the over-under of 9, minus 110 both over and under. I'll let you two talk about my team before I do. Zach, you go first.
I guess the Colts, I don't really know too much about them. I feel like they could possibly be a 9-win team. They could possibly be a 13-win team. I don't freaking know.
Fair enough. Give me an over or an under. Pick one.
I'll go over.
All right.
I'm going under. Sorry, Billy.
That's okay.
But not by much. Like I think they're an 8-8 team. Just they do have some talent, but Phillip Rivers couldn't really prove too much last year on the Chargers with a bunch of offensive talent surrounding him.
Yeah.
He
He
is
regressed
getting
last
older.
year, and he's just
Yeah.
gotten older.
Yeah, so I don't see Phillip Rivers coming in and solving the Colts' issues. I mean, they do still have some talent. Ty is still a very elite wide receiver in the league. Have a solid offensive line and a serviceable defense, but I just don't see them as being an elite team. I think an 8-8 prediction is pretty fair for them.
Okay. Yeah. I go back and forth on what I think of the Colts. So, very good. They've got a good structure in place. I love the head coach. I love the GM. I think Chris Ballard, one of the 5 best GMs in football. Frank Reich, borderline top 10 head coach. But I'm not a fan of the Phillip Rivers signing. I just think that if he's an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett, it's not a substantial one. And I don't want to be that perpetually 8-8, 9-7 team, which we might be. But we've also done a lot of good things. Bringing DeForest Buckner is big. I think that brings us that, along with the development of a couple of our strong rookies showings from last year, Bobby Okereke, Kari Willis, even Kamoko Turi from 2 years ago could have a breakout here. So I think we turn into a top 10, maybe top 5 defense this year after being right around top 15 last year. So some steps up there. And then our running game, I think, is an elite running game. We were 7th last year. We have, I think, the best offensive line in football. And then you're adding in a second-round pick, Jonathan Taylor, early second-round pick, one of the better running back prospects in recent memory. Not like we're not comparing him to Saquon or Zeke Elliott or anything, but definitely a strong prospect to go that early in the second round, and a guy that was electrifying in college.
Yeah,
could bring it to the Colts.
Dominant.
I think they have a top 5 run game. Don't be surprised if the Colts have the best run game in the NFL, because they've got a lot going for them. So I will take the over, but just barely. I think they win the division at 10-6, and that's partly because I think everyone else in this division sucks.
Not high on the Titans, huh?
Not at all. So they're next up. Actually, let's get into the Titans. 8.5 for the win total, -130 for the over, +107 for the under. I'm hammering that under. I think
really
two of the biggest regression candidates in football are Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. So if I can get the better odds on the under anyway, I am taking the Titans to maybe not fall off the map this year, but definitely have a hard time making the playoffs.
I just don't really see a team going to the AFC Championship beating the Patriots and the Ravens.
Have you heard of another AFC South team called the Jacksonville Jaguars? Because they did that.
That's fair. But I still am in love with Derrick Henry. I think he's the best running back. Up there with Christian McCaffrey. I'll watch my words there. But
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd still put
I don't
Saquon
think
and Zeke ahead of him as well. And honestly, I'm not very high on him. Like, I think he might. If you're looking at last year's numbers, obviously top 5 running back. I would put him at 4.
The best running back, if you're looking at last year's numbers.
McCaffrey was a little bit better, I think.
I
don't know. It's hard to say when you're looking at numbers, because what numbers are you weighing more importantly? Yards, receiving yards, rushing yards, touchdowns. But
or how about the number of wins, and especially number of wins in the playoffs? I mean, how many did McCaffrey have again?
Well, McCaffrey didn't make the playoffs.
Exactly.
And Henry had a better team than McCaffrey did. I don't think wins for a running back is a good stat. But
but still,
regardless, I think that he regresses maybe even outside the top 10 this year, which I think we both disagree on. But Zach, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the Titans. I think I'm going to take the over on them, actually.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going 9-7 for the Titans. Not like a totally elite team, but I do think that they win this division just because of the quality of the division.
Fair
I think
enough.
it's going to be in my opinion, I think it's going to be a 2-horse race between the Colts and the Titans all year.
Yeah.
I just like the Titans a little bit more. I like Vrabel a lot as well.
So yeah, I think I also agree that it'll be a 2-horse race. The thing that edges the Colts over the Titans for me is that I do think the Colts have the better running game, and I think we're both split on that because we're split on Derrick Henry. But you know, Titans 5th in rush in the NFL, or 3rd or 5th, I don't remember. But they were top 5 in the NFL in rushing last year. The Colts 7th. The Colts added Jonathan Taylor, and I think that is enough for me to elevate them. And I think this is definitely a very run-heavy division outside of the Texans. So I think that is a tiebreaker. So I think the Colts win the division, but we'll do that a little bit more when we talk our standings. Let's talk Texans. 7.5 on the over-under. Minus 106 for the over, minus 115 for the under. I hate the Texans. I think they're going to be an awful team.
I think
But
so too.
I don't know if I want to take the under just because it's so low. 7.5 for a team that won the division last year is interesting. Zach, what do you think of the Texans?
Yeah, I actually put them at 8-8, so I feel like it's hard to put them on the under here too. I'm gonna go ahead and just take the over on them, just because that's what I feel. And I like Deshaun Watson. They do got a couple weapons down there, and they were the champions of the division last year.
Yeah, I mean that's a very good point bringing up Deshaun Watson. But I feel like they did make one of the worst offseason moves in NFL history, in my personal opinion. Trading away
nothing.
Hopkins, so for absolutely nothing.
A second-round pick and a bad contract.
Yeah, that's so. I don't necessarily know what Bill O'Brien was doing there. Probably like the top 3 wide receiver in the league is gone now. Don't really know how Deshaun Watson is going to adjust to that. I do think that Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback in the league right now, so he could be an X factor. But in terms of surrounding talent, and I just don't like Bill O'Brien personally. I just don't really know that he knows what he's doing as a coach and a GM. I'm taking the under here. I think they're 6-10, 7-9 team.
Okay. Yeah. I have a hard time with this one because, like, I want to express that the Texans are bad and they're gonna be bad, but 7.5 is just so low. So I'm gonna take the over, but not by much. Like 8-8 sounds about right for the Texans, which is really bad for a team that just won this division. Deshaun Watson, when you've got a quarterback of that caliber on your team, I think he carries you to a few wins. He's still got a couple of weapons. He's still thrown to Will Fuller, who's a solid receiver. Kiki Kuti is another guy who hasn't proven a lot, but if he takes that number 2 role, could be a solid player. Not a good team, but I don't think they're that bad. So 8-8 sounds about right for the Texans, taking the over. Let's get into the Jags. I think the worst team in football.
Oh, yeah.
Over-under is 4.5, minus 110 both ways. I'm taking the under. Leonard Fournette might not even be there, and I think he's even though he hasn't been good, has probably been one of their best players on offense. So I don't know what they're going to do. Gardner Minshew, he was okay, but he had more hype than actual ability. What do you guys think?
You can go ahead, Marshall.
I'm in the same boat as Billy. I do not like the Jaguars. They have totally imploded their defense. I mean, sending away Ramsey, who was like pretty much like the most exciting player on the team.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because the Jaguars just a couple years ago, like Billy had said earlier, were in the NFC Championship. I thought this actually might finally be the resurgence of the Jaguars, but I mean, they've just totally lost their way. I would say that they might be the worst run organization in the league.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
I think their
toss-up
team is
between a
worse,
few.
but I think the Bengals are run worse. But definitely a fair argument.
Yeah, I mean that can be a topic for another day, but yeah, under on the Jags. I think they're going to be a front runner in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Zach, over or under for you?
I'll go under on them too, but not by much. I have them at 4-10. I don't have much faith in the Jags. They could obviously win 3 or just have an historic awful season.
That's true. Anyone can win 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
When your over-under's that low, sometimes you get it just by luck.
I think they're 2-14.
Yeah, they're not gonna
Yeah.
win. They're not gonna win.
I think
very
2-14 is good. Let's go into our standings and records. Marshall, start us off.
So I have the Titans at 9-7, the Colts number 2 at 8-8, the Texans at 7-9, and the Jags at 2-14. So this
Cool.
is probably one of the worst divisions in football,
I agree.
in my humble opinion.
I agree. I think this might be the worst division in football,
Yeah.
arguably. But I'll let the Colts. I have the Colts winning it at 9-7, Titans 8-8, Jags also 8-8, and then
Wait.
Texans 8-8, and then Jags. Is that what I said? I don't know what I said, but Colts,
Yeah, you
Titans,
said the
Texans,
Jags.
and then the Jags at 2-14.
I was like, whoa, 8-8 for the Jags out of nowhere.
I mixed up my team names. I was reading ahead of where I was talking, and I got a little mixed up there. But yeah, Zach, what are your standings?
So I got both the Colts and the Titans at 9-7. I'm not too sure who's
Okay.
going to end up winning that division. It's going to be close. I got the Texans coming in next in third place at 8-8, and then the Jags I put at 4-10.
All right.
Okay.
So then let's get into the last division we have today. This is the division that you two have a team in, the AFC West. We'll kick it off with the Chiefs, over under 11.5, highest in the NFL. That's a lot of wins. Plus 107 for the over, minus 130 for the under. Personally, I'm taking the under here, and that says nothing about the Chiefs and a lot more about the rest of the division. I think we just talked about the worst division in football. I think this is the toughest division in football, other than maybe the NFC West. But I think that, they just won the Super Bowl. They're clearly a very good team. They bring back almost everyone. Still have Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. Great team. Just drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round, so they're going to even be better at running back. So, good team, but I like this division a lot. What are your thoughts here, Zach?
The Chiefs probably have my favorite player in football right now in Patrick Mahomes, and I think he's just a do-it-all player, honestly. I'm going to have to take the over on the Chiefs. I know that's a lot of wins. I think they could do it, though. I got them at 13-3.
Okay.
Ooh.
Marshall, what do you think?
I don't hate that. Zach, I respect your opinion on going Patrick Mahomes is your favorite player in the league, but I just can't do it because I hate the Chiefs.
I feel that.
But that's just, you can't really root for them. But, I mean, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is probably my favorite player to watch in the league. Unless he's facing the Broncos and just absolutely running outside of the pocket and throwing some left-handed pass that no one ever saw coming. But I am taking the under, not just because I don't like the Chiefs, but because I feel like some Super Bowl hangover is a real thing. You've seen that with Super Bowl winners in the past. And also, like Billy had said, I think the AFC West is in contention for the best division of football, like the NFC, up there with the NFC West, which we touched on in the last episode predicting our NFC teams. I just think the strength of this division, anyone can win over 8 games in this division, in my opinion. I just think the Chiefs are going to have a hard time getting over 11. I still think they're a 10-6 or 11-5 team and make the playoffs and probably win this division as well and be a front runner for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good team, and I think they're probably the best team in football, but they're gonna have a dogfight in the division, So
Yeah.
I think they might split with every team, because every team in this division I feel like has the capability of beating the Chiefs once. So
Yeah.
that's gonna make it tough on the Chiefs, especially playing a division winner schedule. So they're gonna have some tough games outside the division as well.
Ravens.
I still think they're 11-5, but 12 seems like a big ask for a Chiefs team that's going to have probably the toughest schedule in football, in my opinion. But let's get into the Chargers. 7.5, minus 130 for the over, plus 107 for the under. An interesting team. They just lost Phillip Rivers. It looks like it'll probably be Tyrod Taylor, but maybe Justin Herbert, depending on whether or not they decide to start the rookie. But I'm taking the over. I think the Chargers have enough pieces in place outside of quarterback to carry them to 8 wins. I don't think that they go much over that, but still solid enough to get to 8. What do you think, Zach?
I'd say I'm a little broken up on the Chargers. I see them as a cusp team right there on the verge of 8-8, but I just got to take them right under. So I don't think they're going to get 7.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Zach. I don't really know what to think about the Chargers yet. Just because, I mean, their quarterback situation is really weird. Although, it would be more interesting if they did bring in Kaepernick, which we touched on a little bit earlier.
I think that was in our last episode we talked about him. Oh, no, we did. That was today. They actually have the tryout.
Yeah.
You're right.
But I'm going to take just slightly under. I think they're 7-9 team. They do have a lot of offensive pieces.
Yeah.
But
so we're all within one win on the Chargers.
Yeah. I do like the Chargers, just their talent, but their quarterback situation is going to be a bit weird this year.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's
still
get into
have one
it.
of the best
the
defenders
Denver
in football,
team,
though.
The Broncos, 7.5, -110 both ways. I'll let you two talk about your team. Marshall, go first.
Over 7.5.
I agree. Hammer the over.
And that's not just being a homer, in my opinion. A lot of national buzz is coming out about the Broncos, just how excited they are to watch them this year. So in terms of offensive potential, they have some of the best young offensive pieces in the entire NFL. Drew Lock is still just entering his second year. Only played 5 games, but went 4-1 down the stretch and
massive breakout candidate.
Absolutely massive breakout candidate. Looks like he could be finally like the next Broncos quarterback. I know Elway's been looking for that for quite a while now, and we have too as fans. There's some more stuff I definitely want to touch on, but Zach, do you?
Yeah,
what do you
I also
think about
got the over on the Broncos. When you're drafting great receivers like Jerry Jeudy in the first round, it's only going to help your team.
Yeah, and then even added KJ Hamler in the second.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to take the over on the Broncos. I think they can go 9-7.
Yeah, just a couple other pieces. KJ Hamler in the second. The running game, bringing in Melvin Gordon to a room already with Phillip Lindsay. I think the receivers that Drew Lock is going to be throwing to in terms of total speed is going to be right up there with the Chiefs, which is kind of what the Broncos have been wanting to do. Yeah. I mean, KJ Hamler run like a 4.2, maybe early 4.3. I can't specifically remember. But Noah Fant is also a very fast tight end and had an underrated rookie season last year, especially like with the rotation of quarterbacks that he saw with Drew Lock and Brandon Allen and Joe Flacco. Noah Fant still had a really solid year. And we're kind of glancing over Cortland Sutton. Had a Pro Bowl year last year, over 1,000 yards. Still a young buck as well. On the defensive side of the ball, I really like their defense as well, especially having Fangio as a defensive-minded coach. I think the Broncos can have a top 5 defense in football. I mean, with Vaughn and then Bradley Chubb coming back, we were touching about how he's been rehabbing this whole time. Bringing in Gerald Casey from the Titans. AJ Bouye from the Jaguars. That's another key piece of the Jaguars lost, although he didn't have a great year last year. I just love the Broncos going into the season, and first time since the Manning era that I'm actually really excited to watch Broncos football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Broncos, this 7.5 number is really weird. I don't know why Vegas would put the Broncos that low. I love Cortland Sutton. T.Y. Hilton, my favorite player in football. Probably my favorite player in sports, him and Cale Makar. But, Cortland Sutton and Kenny Golladay are kind of my 2-3 for my favorite receivers in football. I really love what Cortland brings to the table. I think he does a lot for the Broncos, and now that he has Judy across from him and KJ Hamler in the slot, this passing game is going to be insane, and that's without Noah Fant. So that'll be
and
interesting.
The running game too,
Let's get into the Raiders. 6.5 -150 for the over, +123 for the under. I'm again going to take the over here. I think the Raiders are good. I think Derek Carr super underrated. I think he'll, he's a guy that had an MVP caliber season a few years back and never really got back to that level. But I think this is the year that he does it. I think he takes that step back to where he was when he was at his peak. And I think that he takes them to maybe 8 or 9 wins. I think they've got some other pieces. They brought in Henry Ruggs was their receiver. They actually drafted even a little before Jerry Jeudy, which debate the positioning of the receivers. Both of them very, very good. So I think that helps them a lot. They've got a solid defense still. So another team, I like I said, I love this division. I'm taking the over on every team but the Chiefs.
Yeah. Zach, you can go ahead and start on the Raiders.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and take the over on the Raiders too. You guys have touched on it. This division is definitely the best division in football, and yeah. Oh, I want to touch on Derek Carr. I'm not as high on Derek Carr as you, Billy. I don't think he's that good, especially after his leg injury. He's regressed a little bit, but. John Gruden, I don't think he's the best coach in the league either. I do not like him actually one bit. So I do think I am taking the over, but I don't think they're 8-8. I think they're 7-9.
Okay, fair enough. What do you think, Marshall?
I'm also going over. I think 7-9 is fair. Unlike Zach, I do like Gruden. I also do like Carr, but maybe not as much as you, Billy. I mean, I feel like he is pretty underrated, and maybe gets a little bit of, unfair criticism from national media.
Yeah.
But he has proven to be pretty freaking serviceable. I do like what Josh Jacobs did last year, and then although they did get the second best wide receiver in my opinion in the draft, Henry Ruggs is still a very talented receiver
And fits what they want to do on offense.
Yeah. So that's we were talking about that just off script a little while ago. It does fit what they want to do. Just run the ball down people's throats. Tyrell Williams too, so they do have some speed.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our standings here. I'm taking the Chiefs at 11-5, the Broncos at 10-6 in second, the Chargers 8-8, and then the Raiders also 8-8.
All right. You can go ahead, Marshall.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right, so I got Chiefs first, and I think they are definitely going to be the best team in football again this year. I got them at 13-3. Next, I got the Broncos coming in at second at 9-7. As we touched on, they've developed a lot of talent in the last few years. I think that's very possible for them. Next, I got Chargers. Like I was saying, I don't really know what to think about the Chargers this year. I'm going to have to see them play a little bit. I got them at 8-8. Raiders, I got them at 7-9.
All right.
I have the Chiefs at 11-5, Broncos at 10-6. Then I had both the Chargers and the Raiders at 7-7, but I think the Chargers. Oh, wait, sorry, yeah, 7-9. I just think the Chargers win a couple ahead, or like the head-to-head battle with the Raiders. So
okay, sounds good. So we're all pretty much in agreement that this is a very strong division. I like the AFC better than the NFC this year. I think I touched on that in our NFC over-under pod, but I think that the AFC wins the Super Bowl this year just because I think the best contenders, the Ravens, the Chiefs, even the Broncos to an extent, are the best teams in football, and I think one of those is the ones that takes home the Super Bowl. Probably the Chiefs, to be honest. I feel like they've got some distance between themselves and second place as far as the best teams go. But that's pretty much all we've got for you guys today. Any closing statements from either of you?
Really quick, I feel like the gap is a little bit closer between the Ravens and the Chiefs than you might think.
Okay, fair enough.
But that's it from me.
All right, Zach, anything left?
No, just follow our Instagram, follow our Twitter, all the good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And check out the rest of the Off-Brand Network. If you're a Colorado Avalanche fan like we are, you might like our Colorado Avalanche podcast. If you just like hearing us talk for some reason, then watch our Top 10s podcast, where we make some interesting Top 10 lists and have some fun with it. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. We are on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. Technically, we're not on iTunes yet, but I'm going to say that anyway. We will be once we have 3 episodes. We're also on YouTube, which is, I think, where we're probably getting the most viewership at the moment. So check us out anywhere you'd like to listen, and we'll see you guys in our next episode.